I am on one of the world's busiest airports runways right now, and we're running a 5K. Now, I'm no runner, but that's not important because we're here to check out cool things like these runway lights and other planes taking off. We're at Dallas-Fort Worth right now, the third busiest airport in the entire world. Like I said, running a 5K. This is runway 13 right, 31 left. It's kind of in the top left. I'll put a screenshot on right now. When we get down to that far end, we should be closer to the other runways, which you'll be able to see in that screenshot. And hopefully, see, there's the plane taking off right now. Hopefully see more stuff like that a lot closer. So let's kind of get ready to examine this runway and not run. I used to be kind of a runner. I'm not anymore. These shoes are too small. They were in my car to return them, but I forgot to return them. So now I'm wearing too small of running shoes on a 5K, and I haven't ran a 5K in many years, so let's just go. So we've started. I'm not gonna run for long, but when we find something cool, I'll come back. So we have ran for a little bit, but I stopped to show some cool lights. Oh, and the sun came up. It's not very often that you get to be on a international runway and just walk or run around and look at everything. So we're gonna try to look at every single thing I can think of. That light is pretty cool. Even look how wide just this white line on the outside is. It's probably 4 feet wide. The scale of everything is kind of crazy. Running actually doesn't feel nearly as bad as I thought it would. Look at the lights in the middle. Those are cooler because plane wheels go over them, so they have to be resilient and kind of in the ground and in these big metal things. But right now we're going north, which is away from all the activity. So you'll definitely see more on the way back when we get all the way south. I'll put on a map where we are right now so you guys can see. But not bad so far. Here's the first markers for us. These are not the 1,000-foot markers, but they're massive. When we get to 1,000-foot, I'll show you all those as well. I know it's bumpy, so I apologize, and I'm breathing hard, but it's interesting. They have cops going up and down constantly to make sure no one leaves the runway and does any shenanigans. And here we go. These are still not the 1,000-foot, obviously, but they're massive. Next stop, 1,000-foot markers. And here we are, we're getting to where they actually land some. It is like pure blackness of tire on the ground. Look at the grooves and everything. Supposedly, each landing is like 10 pounds of tire in theory. Now this runway is, I think, 9,300 feet. So we're kind of running the total way forward and back almost. Not quite. But Dallas, supposedly, I read this last night. Now, there's definitely a possibility that this is false. Supposedly is the only airport in the world with 4 runways over 13,000 feet. The 4 main ones, I think, are around 13,400, which are right over there, but you obviously can't see them. So who knows if that's true. And here we go. This is actually crazy. Oh my God. This 1,000-foot marker is huge. Here's me for scale. It's like a football field. I'm not trying to get arrested. That is crazy. How you never would guess the size of this unless you were out here. That is wild. So there's the end of the runway up there. Not sure how well you can see. It's looking quite nice with the sun right now. This is definitely the coolest run I've ever done. Once we turn around, we're gonna look at these lights in the middle because, in my opinion, they're the coolest. And then, at the end, hopefully we'll get some plane spotting action on that runway that you can see a lot of activity on behind me. And here it is, runway 13 right. The runway numbers are massive in and of themselves, but we're at the turnaround. There's the X up there, if you can tell, for a closed runway. I don't know how they pulled off closing a Dallas-Fort Worth runway for a 5K of all things, but I'm not complaining. Now we're in the picturesque, coming back, more runway markers. Now 13 right is in the correct orientation as well. And we're gonna head off here to the right side so we can see, actually no we're not, we're heading to the middle. I don't know what I'm talking about. See what these lights look like that can withstand hundreds of thousands of pounds on them. And there's one. Look at that. That is a solid piece of like cast something. You can see the light is pointing that way and pointing that way. But that's just about as invincible of a light could be. And surprisingly, I'm actually feeling pretty decent running. I watched some YouTube videos and my running form is much better. So I've actually been running pretty much the whole thing except when I talk to you guys. But let's get down all the way to the other end so we can finally see some planes take off, God willing. Also, I wanted to mention, obviously we knew there were grooves sideways on the runway, but this one has vertical grooves as well, but only in the landing zone. So you see them vertical here. If you look back earlier, they were only horizontal. So that's something I never knew. When I laid down on the 1,000-foot marker, it was like freaking sandpaper. So kind of interesting. Halfway mark, we just got water. Surprisingly, like I said, feeling decent. Again, we're gonna get to plane spotting at the other side. Okay, so we're pretty much at the other turnaround. But if you look over here, there are some planes which obviously are not in working order. And if you look on Google Maps, it says that's like a fire training facility or something. So I would assume they use those quote unquote decommissioned planes to practice putting out fires on planes. If you look at the one closest, it has a bunch of black stuff on it, which kind of looks like something from smoke maybe, I'm not sure. If anyone knows, let me know. But here we are at the turnaround. They're making us turn around at the 1,000-foot markers, which is a little disappointing. Oh, what? That was interesting. So if we see any planes take off, I think they're landing on this runway right here, which is, I guess, 1-8 right maybe, which is unfortunate because they were taking off and going like right over here. But so this may be the best we can do. There's a plane landing right there, but they ceased all takeoff operations from that runway apparently. There's a ATC tower too, which is pretty cool. But this may be as good as we're gonna get. We saw some earlier. Oh, there's a plane taking off, but that's a far runway. I'm blinded by the sun, so I hope you guys can see that. But so much for our plane spotting adventures on the 5K runway run. Unfortunate. There's a Piper up there somewhere. I have no idea if you can see it in frame. I can barely see it in real life. At the end, we finally got some takeoffs. I can't even see what that is, dude. I'm being blinded right now. So that was an A220. The race is basically over. I'm debating going to Founders Plaza to get some videos, but we did get some takeoffs, so maybe not. You can see, look at this. There's just planes in the air everywhere here at Dallas. We got a picture with the runway sign, which is pretty cool. Everyone's getting pictures over there. Hope that was somewhat entertaining. I'm sorry we didn't get as much plane spotting as I had hoped, but now we get our participation trophy and then we're gonna go home. But I'm actually surprised how well I ran. We went 30-something minutes, which is terrible, but minus all the time that I stopped and talked to you guys. So I'm happy since I haven't ran a 5K in probably close to a decade. So thanks for watching.